5 Republican lawmakers in the United States House of Representatives have just introduced one of the most explosive pieces of legislation Nigeria has seen in recent times, and it could fundamentally change the relationship between Washington and certain Nigerian political and religious figures. The bill, officially titled the Nigeria Religious Freedom and Accountability Act of 2026, was introduced on Tuesday, February 11, by Representatives Riley Moore and Chris Smith, along with 3 other powerful Republican congressmen, including House Appropriations Committee Chairman Tom Cole, House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Brian Mast, and Appropriations Subcommittee Chairman Mario Diaz-Balart. What makes this bill absolutely shocking is that it specifically names former Kano State governor and national leader of the New Nigeria People's Party, Rabiu Kwankwaso, as someone who could face targeted sanctions, including visa bans and asset freezes by the United States government. The bill also targets Fulani ethnic militias, the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria, and Miyetti Allah Kautal Hore for potential designation as foreign terrorist organizations. This is not just political theater. This is a serious legislative effort that could result in some of Nigeria's most prominent figures being blacklisted by the world's most powerful country. The reason Kwankwaso finds himself in American crosshairs is absolutely fascinating and takes us back to his time as governor of Kano State. According to Sean Nelson, senior counsel for Global Religious Freedom, who praised the new legislation, Kwankwaso is being targeted because he introduced Sharia criminal law in Kano State during his governorship. The American lawmakers behind this bill argue that the implementation of Sharia law represents what they call severe religious freedom violations, and they believe anyone who enacted or supported such laws should face consequences from the United States. The bill empowers the Department of State and the Department of Treasury to impose these targeted sanctions under the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act, which is the same legal framework America uses to punish human rights abusers around the world. Representative Riley Moore, who is the primary author of this bill, made his intentions crystal clear in his announcement. He declared that the United States is a Christian nation and must stand with persecuted Christians around the world. Moore specifically said this legislation will build upon the momentum of President Donald Trump designating Nigeria as a country of particular concern for religious freedom violations and the recent Security Framework Agreement between the United States and Nigeria. Now, here is where Sheikh Ahmad Gumi comes into this entire picture, even though his name does not explicitly appear in the bill text that has been made public so far. Gumi has spent years publicly defending Fulani herdsmen and what many Nigerians describe as Fulani militias. He has repeatedly called for amnesty for bandits, argued that these armed groups are engaged in what he describes as an existential war to protect their traditional livelihoods, urged Nigerians to learn to live with Fulani herdsmen, criticized military operations against bandit camps, and most recently, in December 2025, condemned the United States airstrikes on terrorist camps in Sokoto as a neo-crusade war against Islam. In interviews with international media, Gumi has consistently framed these armed groups not as terrorists or criminals, but as Fulani herdsmen fighting for survival. He told the BBC that the Nigerian military cannot defeat these groups through force and that dialogue is the only solution. He described them as guerrilla fighters engaged in an existential struggle linked to threats against their cattle-rearing way of life. Multiple Nigerian analysts and commentators have argued that Gumi's years of public advocacy for these groups, his forest visits to negotiate with them, and his opposition to military action against them essentially make him a defender and apologist for the exact Fulani militias that this American bill is now targeting for terrorist designation and sanctions. If you are finding this breakdown of how American politics is now directly targeting specific Nigerian figures helpful and want to stay updated on all major developments, please hit that subscribe button right now and turn on your notifications so you never miss our analysis. The bill requires the United States Secretary of State to determine whether certain Fulani ethnic militias in Nigeria qualify as a foreign terrorist organization, which is an extremely serious designation that would put these groups in the same category as ISIS, Al Qaeda, and Boko Haram. If that designation happens, anyone found to be providing material support, advocacy or defense of these groups could potentially face American sanctions themselves, even if they are not explicitly named in the current bill. This is why Gumi's position becomes precarious. His public statements over the years defending these exact groups, his criticism of American involvement in Nigeria's security, and his vocal opposition to military operations against bandit camps could be interpreted by American lawmakers as providing moral and political support to groups they are now considering designating as terrorists. The bill also calls for annual reports to Congress detailing all individuals and entities sanctioned or under consideration for sanction, which means this is not a one-time action but an ongoing accountability mechanism that could expand to include more names in the future. For Kwankwaso, this could mean being unable to travel to the United States, having any American assets frozen, and facing restrictions on doing business with American entities. For the Fulani militia groups and organizations like Miyetti Allah, terrorist designation would mean their members could be arrested if they ever set foot in countries with extradition treaties to America, their funding sources could be targeted, and anyone supporting them could face criminal prosecution. What do you think about this American bill targeting Kwankwaso and Fulani militias? Is it justified given the violence these groups have allegedly perpetrated, or is it dangerous foreign interference in Nigeria's internal affairs? And should Sheikh Ahmad Gumi be worried that his years of defending these groups might eventually land him on a similar sanctions list? Share your thoughts in the comments below.